Some people like to drink coffee and various things like that, but I get my stimulant from going to Google. Every morning I get up, or whatever time that I wake up, and I immediately go to Google. So I will go into the computer, and the first thing I will do is type in the word oboe, O-B-O-E, and it will give me the latest in the world of oboe. I'm really passionate about getting the word out about concerts and events. I do it absolutely every day. People think that I sit at the computer all the time, and maybe I do somewhat, but I do have other things that I do. I've always kind of divided the concert experience into three parts. The first part is going out front and trying to get a ticket. The second part of the concert experience is going to the concert. And the third part of the concert experience is trying to find the party after the concert. A lot of times the concerts are sold out, but I never let something like that stop me. I just come out front, and when you have 3,000 people who have bought tickets for a concert, you're usually going to find 50 or 100 people out front selling, so I've never really had much trouble. But normally when the big orchestras play here, like Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Chicago, Philadelphia, I will know some of the people in the oboe and or bassoon section of the orchestra. And sometimes I'll hang out around the door, surprise them. I think it's kind of fun. Hey, what's up?
Thanks. Thank you.
This is kind of interesting. I don't get to do this every day. Doing all right? I'm going to try this instrument here. God, this is
You have to face the audience.
You know, people ask me why that I'm so interested in all these concerts. It's just because it's what I like to do. I mean, it's something I enjoy.
First time I met Delmar was in 2007 at the John Mack Oboe Camp. I was just standing out on the stone patio outside the canteen area where the reception was, and somebody tapped me on the back and said, "Tom?" And I turned around and I said, "Yes." And he said, "I'm Delmar." And I said, "Oh my God, you're Delmar?" I mean, we're talking many years before I actually met him. So many that I even talked to my friend Robin Driscoll at one point and said, "Who is this Delmar anyway?" Because I keep on getting these emails from him. And Robin, being from Charlotte, North Carolina, said, "Oh, he's this oboe player postman." It was sort of like meeting a long lost friend, somebody that or a pen pal, like meeting a pen pal for the first time. But as I live near Oboe Camp, it's only about 120 miles from my house. I did go for quite a few years for just a day. I just drive up for the day. And that's where I met a number of people, including Robert Walters now, who's English horn in the Cleveland Orchestra. I remember meeting him for the very first time there.
The first time I met Delmar, I was 15. I was a kid from Nebraska, and I went to the John Mack Oboe Camp in North Carolina. So I go to this camp, and there are always 60 people running around playing the oboe. And what I remember was there was this guy from Charlotte who worked in a post office. He was a postal worker. He just seemed like he had encyclopedic knowledge of anyone who'd ever played the oboe. And I remember when I heard the definition of the word amateur, for the love of, I thought of this guy I'd met a few years ago in North Carolina, Delmar Williams. Yeah, now there's an amateur who loves the oboe.
I really look at oboe as more of a hobby for me. It's not really I never wanted to do it professionally. I just wanted to do it. It just fulfilled a need, a certain need within my heart. The oboe and classical music in general really speak to my soul, kind of, the playing of the oboe. So it's not like, I mean, I just like to hear other people play well. To me, that's very much, it gives me a lot of satisfaction.
Delmar's a pretty cool guy, and we've been getting along real well the whole time he was at the post office and all. And
25 years.
Yeah, and I remember when he first used to come in from his concerts and change his clothes in the bathroom.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I used to wear my tuxedo. Then in 1985, I got a call from the U.S. Postal Service offering me a job with great benefits, good salary, good vacation time, and I went for it. I got a job with them, and I just kind of threw the freelance oboe thing out the window. I actually survived at that one job for 23 years, and I used that job for everything it was worth to make enough money to do what I really like to do, which is travel and listen to music. I had never been to Europe before, and I was drawing unemployment, and I just decided, well, that was the time to go. So I went to a travel agent and got a backpack and put it on my back. And I just went around Europe. I bought a Euro pass for 3 months, and that was like $600 in 1981. I think I can kind of recite the countries I went to. I went to Luxembourg, Switzerland, France, Germany, Austria, the ex-Yugoslavia, Greece, Turkey, Bulgaria, and Iceland, Germany, and France, a few other places.
In those early years, we saw him a lot. He was always come down to the front of the stage and try to call out the oboe players and say hi, go out with us or whatever. The Pittsburgh Symphony was on a tour to California and Mexico, and then going on to South America. Other Pittsburgh Symphony members climbing up on the Teotihuacan Pyramid, and they get to the top, and Jose's looking around, my husband's looking around, and he hears this, "Jose, where's Cindy?" And he looks, and there's Delmar on top of a pyramid in Mexico with the Pittsburgh Symphony.
And I've been to just about 80 countries now. And while I'm in those countries, I tend to seek out the conservatories, the School of Music, and the orchestras.
It was after a concert I played. The concert was in 1989 in a place called Tzfat, which is in northern Israel. It's a very dusty, quiet, mystical town. And we played a concert there. And we played a piece called the New World Symphony, which is one of my favorite pieces. And after the concert, just want to go to the bus, want to get back home. And some guy comes up to me. I mean, this guy has hair. It's frizzy hair, afro, out to here. And he comes up to me and he approaches. My name is Delmar Williams. And then I know this, and I know this guy, and I know this guy. Do you know him? Do you know him? I said, well, God, where am I? I'm in Tzfat, Israel. I never had anybody like this come up to me. And then we had so many people that we knew in common. And then I said, wow, this is really weird. And then it was such an experience for me that I never forgot it. If he's within 1,000 miles and they're playing a concert, Delmar Williams is going to be there. Only to meet the oboe player, of course.
Whenever I go to any country in the world, I really try to hear classical music in that country. That's just like my thing. Martha, who's my significant other, she likes to get a haircut.
Delmar has incredible energy, as I'm sure you've noticed, and he also has an incredible curiosity and passion for certain things, so it's not surprising that he's always on the move. But I really suspect that he actually craves being in motion, and music is a kind of motion for the mind.
And I've come up here because it's not that far from Charlotte, like 50 or 60 miles. I know a lot of people, it's hard enough to get them to drive 20 or 30 miles for a concert, but I think nothing of driving 50. And one of my favorite things to do is, before a concert or something, I like just to drive around the town and look at the town and look at the old architecture. It's just about sunset, and I've been able to catch some really good light on a couple towers, and it's just a magical time. sunset is a really magical time to drive around. The shadows are just really spectacular, and the light is just great on buildings and on landscapes. I suppose the thing that was most interesting about my childhood was that I had a prominent birth defect when I was born. I was born with club feet. My feet were turned in very much like this. And as a child, I had to have 2 major operations in order to be able to walk. I've always been very thankful that I was born in 1954, because if I had been born in the 1800s or something, I would have never walked. I would have been a cripple all my life. Unfortunately, I worked a lot of hours, and I really didn't go to the gym as much as I should. But in retirement, I'm going every day. There used to be a show on the educational channel called Evening at Symphony with the Boston Symphony Orchestra, and that was probably my very first exposure to the oboe. That was before I actually had an oboe or anything like that, and these were Boston Symphony concerts with a variety of different conductors. But this was back in the '60s, so I think Charles Munch and Eric Leinsdorf were probably the 2 big conductors then. And of course, the principal oboist was Ralph Gomberg. How oboe started with me was there was a guy that brought an oboe home in junior high school. He had been borrowing it to try to learn how to play it, and it didn't work out very well for him. So the band director gave that oboe to me, and that's how I got interested in the oboe. The thing about the oboe that speaks to me is more the tone. I love the tone of the oboe. I'm interested in hearing a great oboe player play really well. That's what really interests me.
I auditioned for the Charlotte Symphony in 1986. I was fortunate enough to be in the finals, and what I didn't realize in the final round was that Delmar was there. It's completely not open to the public. This is a private audition that changes people's lives for a permanent position in the Charlotte Symphony. It's supposed to be just me, the committee, and the music director, and the other finalists. But I found out later that Delmar sneaked into the building and was lying face down on the floor in the balcony because he knew he wasn't supposed to be there, but he wanted to attend a real orchestral audition final round. After the audition, it was completely anonymous. We auditioned behind the screens. He said, "Were you number 3?" And yes, I was. Well, I thought so.
One of the main things that really made them think that I have Asperger's is because I have a very specific set of interests, and very narrow interest in a couple different areas, and everything else can be damned. I had no idea what Asperger's was or anything else, but I've always known I was different. My family doctor was really curious to try to get to the bottom of a lot of issues that I was having in my life, just with different mechanical reasoning things, memory, this kind of stuff. So anyway, he sent me to the Center for Development and Learning at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And I went in and I had a full day of tests and psychological tests, various other things, trying to figure out why my mind operated the way that it operated. So anyway, at the end of the day, they decided that they diagnosed me with Asperger's.
You know, coming to the diagnosis even in later years, I think, and sometimes people will say, well, now at least I know what it is. Now at least I know. You know, there's a context for this. I understand this better. I understand myself better. Clearly there's, idiosyncratic behaviors associated with Asperger's. where a person, has a particular fascination or even an obsession. High-functioning individuals can very much be diagnosed with Asperger's, whether it be, professionally or a hobby, where, there is such an intensity to the interest in the topic. So cognitive functioning can be fine. People who are very, very intelligent, in fact, genius, because of the ability to, and that would be the strength, to focus in on one particular aspect in such an intense way.
I've always been a fan of the Philadelphia oboe sound. It just sounds, to me, it really sounds like what an oboe should sound like. That school, I suppose, would have started with Tebuto, and the successor to Tebuto would have been John Delancey, and John Delancey's successor will be Richard Woodhams. I really love John Delancey's playing very much, and he was the former principal oboist here. He was so beautiful, just such a beautiful player. And the same is true with Mr. Woodhams. I think he carries on the legacy of the Philadelphia oboe style very, very well. You sounded fantastic. Thank you. Really enjoyed it.
See you.
Very good. How do you think he sounded today?
Just so smooth.
Yeah.
Makes everything sound like, especially that Mozart encore.
Yeah.
It's vintage Woodhams.
Yeah, by the way, the Kathy Needleman piece, you can listen to that on the internet.
Really?
That instant encore. She has it posted. Well, I try to keep up with the events.
Now, where are you actually stationed?
In cyberspace. North Carolina has a really good organization called TEACH, and it was one of the very first autism organizations started by a state in the United States. TEACH has Asperger's workshops during the summer every year, and I go to those workshops, and usually there are 5 or 6 of us who get up there on stage and talk in front of all these other people who are learning to deal with people who have Asperger's. And that's one thing all of us have talked about. People realize that we are different. And because of that, people kind of single us out and give us a hard time. I've lived with Martha for years now, and sometimes I still open the wrong drawers. I don't know where things are all the time. Asperger's people sometimes get mixed up, don't have very good spatial relations, and can't figure out where things are. But Martha's grown to accept me, and we've learned to be with each other. She's learned to deal with some of my idiosyncrasies. My sense of directions is totally non-existent sometimes. Like if I were to walk into a building and if I made 4 consecutive rights, I could remember to take 4 consecutive lefts on the way out. But if you start mixing those up, right, left, right, something like that, that's just beyond me sometimes. You might wonder how I'm able to travel around the world. Basically, I buy books with very good maps. And with those maps, I'm doing well. I'm doing fine. A few years ago, Martha and I were in Spain, and we parked our car somewhere off the map of this town. And I said, Martha, are you going to remember where this car is? She said, sure I will. If I had done something like that, I may have never seen the car again. I had very good insurance at the post office, and I went to see a private therapist about the Asperger's situation, and we worked for a long time.
It's been a couple of years, I guess, since I saw Delmar, but we worked together for a little, maybe 2.5 years or so. So it was when he was still working at the post office. When I first met him, I remember going out into the waiting area, and there's Delmar sitting there with his uniform. He's got the wild hair, and he stands up, and he really was the picture of that eccentric professor. So I've been working with folks on the spectrum for 20 years. And honestly, Delmar is one of the more interesting people I've ever worked with. A lot of my higher functioning folks and folks with Asperger's, like Delmar, have that desire to interact. The problem comes with the skills that they have in interacting. He appears to be quite socially skilled in many ways. He was really big on the social scene, I'm sure he's told you, many, many years ago, and People, he ran for Homecoming King and won Homecoming King in college, and had bumper stickers about honk if you know Delmar, and he's a very popular guy. Where he's different though is Delmar has an initiative, an ability to initiate, an ability to self-direct that most people that I work with don't have.
I really like to talk to people and find out a little bit about them and find out where they're going, and I'm not very shy in that way. I find it pretty easy to talk to people. And I was there from March to July.
Okay.
And we had a good time. I've been to Brasilia before too, a long time ago. I've been to Foz do Iguaçu, I've been to Manaus, I've been to Pantanal, I've been to Porto Alegre, I've been to Belém, Natal, Recife, all these places.
Anyway, this goes to the point of how far Delmar will go to find you if you're an oboe player. We were on another tour somewhere in the south. We were in such a big hotel, I think it was the south. We were in such a large hotel that there were two different towers, and they didn't connect except through, another building. So they were far apart from each other. In other words, unless you knew what room number an orchestra member was in, it would be very difficult to find them. Not only that, my room wasn't ready, and it was a few hours before the concert, and I needed a room, so a violinist friend of mine said, why don't you use my room? So my name wasn't even attached to that room. So I start playing, and a little while later, I hear the doorbell ring, or, the door knock, and I open it up, and there's Delmar at my door, which wasn't even my door. I said, Delmar, what are you doing here? And Delmar had a huge package wrapped as a gift with a big bow on it, and he said, I brought this for you. And first of all, I thought it was flowers or something. It was really big. But I said, how did you find me? And he said, he went on every single floor of both of those towers, listening in case he heard an oboe playing, and he found me. And the funny part about the present was, it was a huge box, about this big. So I thought it was something, really great, flowers. And I opened it in front of him, and it was his joke. He had bumper stickers made that say, honk if you know Delmar. And inside this big box was just a little bumper sticker for me, which I cherish.
He was really quite something. I was a little taken aback, a little surprised, but I thought he was kind of cool. Delmar is socially so lubricated, it's quite amazing. He's sort of a one-man worldwide information machine that you can't stop.
You get to hear a lot of great players here. Everybody's playing recitals. You can walk around to all these booths and hear all these people playing. It's just a real great experience. I've been to New Zealand, and I've been to Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, but never Philippines yet. I like to go to the Philippines and Indonesia. But anyway, I just want to tell you, I like to when I hear somebody I like to tell them they sound good. My pleasure, Nick. Nice talking to you. He's a very nice guy, and I know him, so all right. I'll make sure and send you his email. I'll say, wonderful. Okay, I'll try to do it tonight. See, I like to know about double reed festivals and stuff everywhere in the world. Anywhere.
Okay, but we're doing a big tour Australia lately.
Yeah, you should let me know about that. I will definitely get the word out.
Delmar has been responsible for keeping us as a close-knit group in a lot of ways. We sort of keep in touch and stay a small community because of what he does, which is to send us news about what's going on.
Delmar's email list as the most valuable source of information as to what's going on in the oboe world today, and I mean oboe world.
Delmar is our world traveler. He's the one that keeps us in the know, keeps us connected. That's right.
If there's something going on in the bassoon world, this guy knows it.
As I said many times to my students, Delmar knows all. He is so in tune with what's going on in the oboe world.
I learn more about current events in the oboe and bassoon world from following Delmar than I do from any other resource.
Some people would consider me the authority on oboe events in the world, just knowing where they are and what's taking place. he told me that I was the oboe man. That's what he said. And coming from Richard Woodhams, that's like, well, he said I knew all about oboe, and I corrected him. I said I know all about the people of oboe. That's kind of what I know about. I know the people, and I know what they're doing. I really kind of like graveyards. When I travel, it's one place I really like to go to a lot because you can get very much off the beaten track. I suppose if you go to Paris or somewhere like that where Jim Morrison was buried, there'll be a mob scene. It's just really, really beautiful. It's the best day to be at a graveyard, a day that's kind of rainy and overcast. And you're kind of by yourself just looking around at all the famous people that are buried here. And today I'm looking for the grave of Rachmaninoff because I really like the music, like his music very much, and I just want to see his gravesite here. Just looking for that cross. It's just really something to be this close to a person of such stature, musical stature. To me, Rachmaninoff was one of the very great composers. His music speaks really to quite my soul. I think someone asked Rachmaninoff about his music, and he said, they asked him if his music were Russian, and he said, no, my music is not Russian. He said, my music is written from my heart. I mean, I really, really love his music very much.
He's just so enthusiastic about everything. He goes really far in his pursuits. This whole honk if you know Delmar bumper sticker when I first came to town. There was a guy in our orchestra who had one of those bumper stickers, and he had that on his car, and he said that just people had been honking at him all day. So we had him be on the board of a music festival that we were running here because he knew everybody, and he was going to be a great person to disseminate information, and he certainly was. It's wonderful that somebody of his charisma and charm has made it a cause to go out and talk about Asperger's, and really in the spirit of trying to help all sorts of people. You know, he sort of celebrates the fact that he's eccentric and, you know, not just your run-of-the-mill guy.
Come on, move. Excited, come on, let's get... God, he took off all of a sudden, you hear that? Member of the International Double Reed Society, which means I usually know like Richard Kilmer. I thought that was Richard Kilmer. Did you see him, Matt? He looked like. But anyway, in my very best Russian, Yakachuma Rozhnaya Josta, which means I'd like ice cream, please.
When he was passing out the honk for Delmar stickers, I got in on the tail end, and since I didn't get none, I just had to illustrate it every time I seen him by honking my horn. Honk, 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 if you know Delmar. That's a good thing right there.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me see. I got a call here. Let me see if it's Martha. Martha, we're shooting right now, and I'll call you back, okay? I'm doing fine. Okay, love you. Bye-bye. Okay, good.